1996 was the year that gave us Oscar-winning movies like Fargo and The English Patient. It was also the year when LeAnn Rimes won big as the Best New Artist at the Grammys and ER resuscitated medical dramas at the Primetime Emmys. But what about the Game Awards? If you've ever wanted to know what old school games took home the top prizes, then you've definitely come to the right place. Today we're going to recreate Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Awards of 1996, featuring more than 30 categories that include everything from Scariest PR to Deadest System of the Year to Best Full Frontal Nudity. So let me cue up the VHS tape and introduce you to the greatest televised award show to never be broadcast. Look out, change is in the air. Live on tape from the historic Dorothy Chandler Pavilion is Electronic Gaming Monthly's 9th annual Best and Worst Awards. And now, the guy we hired at the very last second, LeAnn Rimes. Wait, what?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and gamers from around the world. I want you to listen closely. Shh. Can you hear that? That faint rumble in the distance is the sweet sound of change. And this is going to be a night filled with change. That's right. My name is LeAnn, and this is Electronic Gaming Monthly's new and improved Best and Worst of 1996. Now give it up for that brand new Superfly set. All right. Now, I know what you're thinking. LeAnn, what do you mean it's new and improved? Well, let me tell you something. This isn't going to be the boring ceremony you suffered through like when that other guy hosted. This isn't your dad's award show. We've revamped the categories to focus more on the kind of thing 90s gamers want, like nudity and sports games for people who hate sports games. I want you to read my lips. There will be no Game of the Year, no boring genre awards, and best of all, no conspiracy theories. Tonight is going to be about you having fun and us here at EGM handing out those prestigious and oh so shiny statues. So, let me ask, are you guys on board for that? So, we should talk about 1996. This was the year when a young girl found her true calling in the middle of a tomb, all while wearing Madonna's bra. This was the year when horror fans entered the mansion of Resident Evil and nearly became a Jill sandwich. And this was the year when Nights into Dreams officially became the first game to let you fly. Well, except for Gradius and Sky Kid, Star Fox, and like a dozen Superman games, come to think of it. And let's not forget to pour one out for the systems we lost this year, including the Virtual Boy, Sega CD, 32X, and CDI. In fact, let's take this somber moment to transition into our first category of the evening, Deadest System of the Year. Yeah, that's the tone we're going for this year. The winner of the Deadest System of the Year goes to, of course, the Jaguar. You can't say Atari didn't try. They had the print ads, an attractive price, and even a few must-own games, but the unruly gamepad and bad word of mouth kept gamers away. And if you ask me, the 3DO won't be too far behind. Want to know how I know? Well, it's because the 3DO is the winner of the game system with one foot in the grave, which is pretty much the most 1996 category we could come up with. I mean, they tried to sell us on the 24-bit color and texture-mapped polygons, but there's no way for this once promising machine to compete in a world filled with the PlayStation, Saturn, and Nintendo 64. Speaking of the 3DO, have you heard about the M2? You know, the 64-bit super chip that Panasonic sold for $100 million. Well, it's the winner of the biggest vaporware because after so many delays, we're somewhat dubious that the M2 will ever see the light of day. Now let me tell you guys something. When I heard through my exceedingly expensive agent that we weren't going to be celebrating the genre awards this year, I was livid. That was always my favourite part of the ceremony, so I knew I had to fight for it. Unfortunately, EGM wasn't going to give an inch, but they did offer me something of a compromise. Instead of going back to the old format, they chose to honour 3 genre games in, well, an unconventional way. For example, Decathlete is the winner of a new category I like to call Best Sports Game for People Who Don't Like Sports Games. The really cool thing about Decathlete is the arcade feel and the great graphics ensure that both sports gamers and casual fans alike will find something to love. However, I'm not sure the same can be said about the winner of the most educational game, Baku Baku Animal. So here's a breakdown of the game. Panda eats bamboo, monkey eats banana, doggy eats bone, bunny eats carrots, and mouse eats the cheese. As simple as it sounds, think of what children across the nation can learn. And not just kids, but adults, like me. I mean, if I ever need to keep a panda alive, and I feel confident that I have the tools to make that happen. At least for a while, maybe a couple of days. Now, if you're wondering what the best fighting game of the year is, then you're gonna need to look elsewhere because I have the square root of squat for you. However, if you're curious about the coolest fighting game move, then look no further than King's Octopus Combo from Tekken 2. Although it's incredibly difficult to pull off, when done correctly, no other moves will be necessary. The enemy will just lie there, dead. Just like the Jaguar, am I right? Okay. Of course, you don't need to have played Tekken to kill people. A lot of games this year had you murdering bad guys, so you can imagine how much competition there was for our new category, Most Killing in a Game. You want blood by the bucketful? You want over-the-top death? You want some destruction? If this is the case, then Die Hard Trilogy is going to be your game of choice. Speaking of killing, there sure is a lot of that in Reloaded, the winner of the game the Pope wouldn't buy. Right, first of all, let's just assume that the Pope actually plays games, okay? Right, now that we've established that, let's just say between the excessive violence and the demonic imagery, Reloaded would be the game that he would never buy. Also, Reloaded sucks, so you probably shouldn't buy it either. Hey, there's a pro tip from me to you. You want another pro tip? Hey, kids, don't do drugs. And it's not just me saying that, but also Black Dawn, the winner of the best anti-drug message in 1996. This PlayStation game lets you fight the war on drugs by blowing up crack houses and murdering everyone inside, and not necessarily in that order. I mean, it's not very practical, but it does warn you about the horrors of drug addiction. Oh, but to all the PTA members in the house, don't worry, that wasn't the only game with a strong message this year. The winner of the most military propaganda is none other than Return Fire, a game that assumes that you didn't see enough pro-enlistment posters in high school. I mean, this game might as well come with a drill instructor who drags your butt to boot camp. Now, when we travelled around the United States asking gamers far and wide what they'd wanted to see more of, we were met with one overwhelming, unrelenting and crystal clear response. Full Frontal Nudity! To help all you horn dogs in the audience celebrate, we've decided to introduce a brand new category called Best Full Frontal Nudity. And in an example of you all needing to be a little bit more specific, and with your hands kept firmly where my highly trained security team can see them, the winner is 3 dirty dwarves. Right, so get this, there's this nude ninja dude who comes out and fights our heroes. We know he's nude because there's this funny black bar covering his junk. But the thing is, this guy jumps around so much that you can't help but see his hitchy and scratchy flapping all around like a freshly caught trout in the winter. Who knows? Maybe we should introduce that naked ninja to Oleums from Tobal #1, who walks away with the hottest game hunk statue. That's right, it's our favourite chicken man, a sexy fighter who knows a thing or two about being a giant cock. Wonder if Lara Croft has any experience in fighting a big cock, because she's the winner for Hottest Game Babe. This sexy bird may only be 5 feet tall, but she packs a pair of guns and she knows how to get in and out of danger. She's the lucky lady that everyone at EGM would bug most for a date, including myself, twice. And now not even my highly paid crack team of lawyers can take down that restraining order. And while we're on the subject, we need to talk about these walking butts in the game PO'd. These crazy creatures are the winners of the strangest enemy, and I'm not sure it will ever be topped. I'm just thankful that Accolade isn't physically able to incorporate smells into video games. Between the artwork, design, and box, the packaging can play an important role when it comes to the success of your game or accessory. Just ask the Psychopad KO, the winner of the worst packaging of 1996. Firstly, let me say that we actually really like this joystick. It's a top-notch peripheral that stood up to some major abuse. But what in the holy heck is with the packaging on this thing? Who the heck is the angry-looking dude doing a karate kick in the front of the box? Apparently, his name is Psycho Warrior, and he wears a shirt adorned with bug heads and little crooked spikes. It's just so dumb. But you know what? It's also kind of rad, which is why the Psychopad KO is this year's winner for best packaging. Sure, a lot of this box is crazy stupid, but it also has a ton of awesome artwork, and there's no way you walk by it in a shop without spending at least 5 minutes studying every inch of its design. Sadly, this box won't sit in store shelves much longer because ACT is re-releasing the Psychopad KO in a new, saner package, which is like totally lame, dude. And while we're on the subject of weird promotions, we definitely need to talk about Spot Goes to Hollywood, the winner of Scariest PR. Virgin Interactive is usually pretty good about showing off their new games, but when they dropped by the EGM offices to demo Spot Goes to Hollywood, they decided to bring Marilyn Monroe along for the ride. It might just be me, but there has to be a better way to spread the word to the folks. Of course, most people, peasants such as yourselves, learn about games from television ads, and no commercial was more effective this year than Crash Bandicoot hawking the PlayStation. For having the guts to shout insults directly at Nintendo's headquarters, Crash is the clear winner for best television ad. We need more of this in our commercial breaks. We also need more of whatever Crazy Ivan is taking, because he is truly the weirdest print ad of the year. It doesn't have anything to do with what's actually in the game, but I doubt I'll ever forget that sumo wrestler and half-naked Ivan. And before we check in with our sensational sponsors, I want to draw your attention to this eye-catching Saturn ad. This is all about strategic placement and sexy images, both of the woman and the games. This was a near unanimous vote for best print ad, and one look at it and it's easy to see why. We'll be right back after these messages.
Howdy, folks.
We're looking for,
Route 9?
Route 9!
That goes through Twist where everything fruity gets twisted.
New Starburst Fruit Twist, cherry, lemon.
I'm really twisted and I like it.
Ooh. Hey man, bite this! New Starburst Fruit Twist, made with real fruit juice. 4 twisted flavors in every pack. Twist up the juice!
Remember when the guys tried to break into my diary?
Lame.
Yeah, well now I got the new talkback to your diary. Well, I found with this talkback button.
It's girls only.
No, guys, no way. Frankie likes you.
Yeah.
Hands off, creep.
Quick, here come the guys. Hey guys, look, it's Tammy's diary.
Scope it out.
Hands off, creep. Get the message?
New Talkback Dear Diary with record and playback button.
Hey folks, you're back. You were gone for a couple of minutes and I started to worry that I'd lost you, but here you are. You're back. Just in case you forgot, due to my overwhelming brilliance, this is Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Awards of 1996, and we still have a whole table full of statues that we need to hand out. So, how's about we get things started? Yeah, I'm pumped! Let's do this thing! Oh, I guess I need to mention that we're moving on to the technical awards, or what's left of them. Let's see here. Right. Let's start by talking about the bad. Resident Evil! No, I'm not saying Resident Evil is bad, but it is taking home the prize for worst voice acting. Anyone who's played this PlayStation exclusive knows that it has the single worst voice acting since Last Alert on the TurboGrafx 16. Hopefully, Capcom will use some of the money that they made on Resident Evil to hire better actors for Part 2. Please find my details below. You know what game has great sound? I mean, besides Resident Evil? Well, wonder no more, because the winner of the best sound effects goes to Star Wars: Shadow of the Empire, the Nintendo 64 game that sounded so good that you almost swear that you were listening to the flick. Between the blaster fire, stormtroopers barking orders, and the whoosh of lightsabers, every single sound is perfect. And given how strong the competition was this year, that's really saying something. The year was also filled with incredible opening cinemas, but none were better than Gun Griffon, the winner of the best introduction. It's impossible not to be wowed by this mech game. The little movie looks more like a live film footage than computer rendered animation. The game is also fun, but nothing will ever top that opening cinema. And I feel like you could say the same about Tekken 2, which picks up a statue for best ending. Actually, that's a bit of a misnomer, because what this category should actually be called is best endings, plural. This 3D, fantastic, frantic fighting game has not 1, not 2, not 13, but 23 endings, each one a mini masterpiece of rendered animation. It's perfection. From Super Mario 64 to Resident Evil to Nights into Dreams, 1996 was a year full of amazing games. Unfortunately, it also had its fair share of crap. Just the worst of the worst. Before we can begin to unravel the best games of the year, we need to look at the products that made our lives miserable. And let me tell you, no game made our lives more miserable than Rise 2: The Resurrection, the winner of Worst Sequel. Look, we've all played bad games, but this is by far the worst fighting game of all time. It's also a crummy sequel, since it doesn't bother to improve on the original in any way. In fact, they miraculously found a way to make everything worse. And while we're on the topic of games we hope you never play, Congo picks up the prize for worst game based on a movie. There was stiff competition in this category, indeed like all years, but in this case, this god-awful first-person shooter makes precisely no sense. I saw the movie, and I certainly don't remember any giant spiders or iguanas hanging around. This game narrowly beat out Cutthroat Island on the Super NES and the Virtual Boy version of Waterworld for top honours. Now, if you're having a hard time sleeping, then I recommend the winner of the game that cures insomnia, Aquanaut's Holiday. Video games are usually pretty exciting, right? Well, there's one game that the EGM staff can think of that is the antithesis of exciting, and that's an underwater adventure where you don't really do much. This one put us to sleep, which is more than I can say about Creature Shock, the winner of the game that should have stayed on the PC. We all loved this game on computers, but this point-and-shoot maze adventure game was pretty much unplayable on consoles. The same can be said about Magic Carpet on the PlayStation, but it wasn't as offensively bad as Creature Shock. And since we're on the subject, no award show would be complete without naming the worst game of the year for kids. Sure, this is a sarcastic award, but there's a really good reason why Virtua Fighter Kids takes home the statue. I'm sorry, but these kids really need to stop fighting. Somebody needs to teach these tykes that you don't solve problems through violence. Unless you're literally every other video game ever made, that is. Did you know that right now we're being watched in more than 40 countries by close to 1 billion people? All of those eyes have been patiently waiting for these next 4 categories, which include the best games of the year. Mind you, we're not actually giving away a Game of the Year prize, which seems a little unfair to Mario 64, but I think you'll agree that these final 4 awards are just as good, if not better. In the category of game company with the most promise, the winner is Capcom. Sure, we know them from Mega Man and Street Fighter, but 1996 proved that Capcom is ready for the next generation. One look at games like Resident Evil and Star Gladiators, and you know that Capcom has their finger on the pulse of what 90s gamers want. Perhaps next year they'll be eligible for the biggest cross-platform title, which goes to Capcom's biggest rival, the Mortal Kombat series. This franchise is everywhere. We saw Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 on the Saturn, Genesis, and the Super NES, along with Mortal Kombat Trilogy on the PlayStation and Nintendo 64. If you own a console and like ripping out spines, then Mortal Kombat has a game for you. And I guess that brings us to the most addictive game of the year, which just so happens to also be the game most bought by EGM staff in 1996. Tetris Attack! Haha, eat your heart out, Super Mario. This Super NES game has been called everything from the best game ever to this hellspawn has got to be destroyed. Even non-video gamers have fallen for this winner. Just one simple warning. Try not to play Tetris Attack before you sleep, for the shapes will haunt your dreams. You've been warned. Boom! And there we go. Now that, my friends, that is how you host an award show. This has been such a wild ride that you probably didn't even notice that Super Mario 64 was completely snubbed. It was the odds-on favourite all night, and yet it came up empty-handed. And that's the kind of unpredictability that makes Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Awards so much fun. You could be the best reviewed and most celebrated game of all time, and still lose to Tetris Attack. Actually, now I come to mention it, this is pretty crazy. How is it possible that we went through this entire award show without celebrating Mario 64? Or Twisted Metal 2? Or Parappa the Rapper? Or Persona? Or Mario Kart 64? Like, we spent a lot of time talking about walking butts and didn't even consider all the legitimate classics that were released this year. That's not what I signed my exorbitantly lucrative contract for. I wanted to elevate this ceremony along with my bank balance and bring real change. I wanted to return these awards to their former glory. I wanted to make a difference. And all we got was a mockery of 1996. Best nudity? Best nudity. Best sports game for people who don't like sports games. Most military propaganda. This is stupid and I want nothing to do with it. Do you know what? You can find another host because I quit.
This is my Tyco video cam. I said my Tyco video cam. Not my mother's, not my father's, mine. Everyone wants to be in my next Tyco video cam video. My friends, my dog, even my parents.
That's a real video cam.
For making real videos. It's real tough, as in durable, not difficult. Just plug it into the VCR, then point and shoot. It's so easy, grown-ups could use it. If I let them.
The Tyco video cam. Batteries not included. Your VCR required to record.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Awards. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we're going to post new episodes every Tuesday and Friday between now and the end of the year. That means there are 3 episodes left. So here's my question for you. What's your favorite game of 1996? There are so many great games, but most of them were completely snubbed by EGM this year. In other news, I'm currently hard at work on reviews for Scintillatron 4096, Horizon Shift 81, and Roller Coaster Tycoon Adventures. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.